When it comes to CPU tower coolers, you always have to be very careful when you pick one, not because of the size or the cooling capacity, well, not only because of that, but also because of the height. Now here we have SCYTHE Ninja 5 CPU tower cooler, which has a huge heatsink, and when I mean huge, it's really massive, as you can see. Today we're going to test it out. We're going to check out the temperatures on Intel Core i9-9900KF, and it's going to be really interesting because I really want to see what will happen with this massive huge heatsink, and we have two side fans on each side of the passive cooler, of the passive heatsink. So let's first open the box and check out the content inside. You can't imagine how this box big is because you're checking it out on the video, but here we have the accessory box and you have the locking nuts. Here you also get a screwdriver, the same one that you get with FUMA 2, and you have the locking nuts, as I said, mounting plates, thermal paste, and even splitter for your fans. Now let's go to the part where basically let's start with the fans. So these are side fans, SU 1225 FD12L, which you can see they're 25 times, well, they're 120 times 120 times 25. This is one, and here we have the second one as well. Now the connection on them is 4-pin PWM, and they both can be connected through the splitter and to the header on your motherboard for better controlling. Also, I do have to add, they have on both sides dampening pads, so they're basically very easy to remove, and if you want to clean them or whatever, you can do that as well. Now the boring part is over when we were talking about the locking nuts and everything. Now let's check out the passive cooler, the heatsink. Oh man, this is a big one, and it has 12 heat pipes going through the heatsink. You can see that it's symmetrical from all sides, and basically it has standoffs right here. You have little cutouts on both sides in case you're using it on X299 or X399 motherboards, so it can have RAM compatibility without any issues. When you're looking at it like this, it does look like Ninja's Shuriken, and you have an opening here on two sides where you can place the screwdriver and tie up the locking nuts directly to the motherboard. Now the one thing that is different on this CPU cooler than on the FUMA 2, you can mount the fans directly on the heatsink and then place it inside the case. I mean, it would be much easier since we have a huge heatsink, which can make the fan mounting really difficult if you're placing it directly inside the case or anything else. So I think that is really nice to have something even more easier to do than usual, because the locking nuts and the locking screws can be tied just like this. So you're going through the whole heatsink directly down below to the screw where you tie it up and attach it to your motherboard, and basically it has a contact to your processor. So let's place the Ninja 5 inside the build and do some thermals. As you can see, I managed to squeeze in the SCYTHE Ninja 5 inside the case, and it's not because any problem that you might think of, I don't know, for instance, problem with placing it on a CPU or stuff like that, because you do have their long screwdriver which helps you tie up the screws to the locking mechanism on the motherboard. So yeah, that's okay, and it doesn't bend the motherboard, as some of you might thought on my Instagram page. But okay, nevertheless, testing was concluded. I didn't go in game and I didn't play any games because Heavy Loader does really good testing when it comes to checking out the temperatures and how it cools the processor. So basically around 35 minutes on Heavy Loader with 100% load on the Intel Core i9-9900KF, we got 69 Celsius degrees, and it reached around I would say around after 20 minutes to reach 69, maybe even further, and after that it just stayed on 69, didn't change, didn't go up, didn't go down. Basically, I do have to mention that this case has smaller openings, but there are still two 120mm fan pushing the air inside, and there are no fans on top. So if, for instance, we had a case that front intake was meshed, like Meshify S2 from Fractal Design, and imagine having that case, getting more airflow, maybe placing 140mm fan on front to blow the air inside, maybe even place at least one fan on the top. I think the temperatures would be around 65, so that is quite alright for this hunk of passive cooler, passive heatsink, and you have two fans on the Ninja 5 from SCYTHE. Now basically you do need to take care of the ram height, because if you go with high profile rams, you won't fit it inside a smaller case. And the thing is, even though they say 155 height, the fan that goes right over the rams will be a bit higher if you have a higher profile rams. So what I did is I swapped the original rams that I had in this case and placed the Patriot Viper Blackout Edition, which are just passive coolers with a small height addition at the top as a heat spreader, and that's basically it. The front fan doesn't go too much above the rear fan, so it's about maybe 2-3 millimeters higher just because of the rams, and that's nothing to worry about. Basically, we have here Deepcool McCube 310 case, which, as you can see, can fit it perfectly, so you can normally close the tempered glass side panel, and that's it. So yeah, I would say I'm pretty satisfied with the temperature concerning the case and what we have actually here. If it was a higher airflow case, then we wouldn't have 69. I would say 65 would be more reasonable temperature, and I would say that's quite alright. In other words, links are below for SCYTHE Ninja 5 CPU cooler, a massive heatsink, two 120mm fans that cool the passive heatsink. One is for pushing the air through and one is for pulling it outside. That's all there is to it. Links are below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and well, see you in the next one. Bye bye.